Hello. So this is like my fourth video of the day. I might do one or two more. I'm not sure. Kind of thinking of topics because I feel like there's a lot of things that happened recently. I know I'm definitely do one more. I got one on some Sony stuff, but I wanted to talk about Zelda because 35-year anniversary month now, and Zelda is my all-time favorite video game franchise. I've been, I think, 8 Zelda games now. I believe I have a friend who me and him have been kind of competing in a sense, kind of keeping track how many we'd be, and he's one ahead of me. Unfortunately, he's beat more of the handheld ones. I've beat more of the console, but overall he's one ahead. I'm not big into handhelds. I'm typically more into consoles. I just have a hard time playing on like a 5-inch screen when I can play on my 55-inch TV, or even back when I had like a 37 or 19-inch. Like I still preferred playing that over like a small 5-inch handheld. But for Zelda 35-year anniversary, I just wanted to kind of discuss what I would, and I'm not going to say this even has to necessarily be realistic, because some of the stuff definitely might not be in terms of what I would like to see or whatnot. This is just overall for me. What would I like to see, kind of from least to most in terms of collection of games or remakes or ports or whatever. So I'd say for least, and this is going to be an unpopular one. I know it will be, and I also want to see your guys' ideas in the comments below in terms of, do you agree with me on what I'm going to talk about, and just what would you personally like to see for Zelda and its 35-year anniversary. So for me, starting with kind of least, is a port of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. Now, the reason, and like I said, I know this is going to be unpopular, but the reason that is kind of my least wanting thing from Zelda for 35 years is because I already have Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD on the Wii U. So I already have it. So since I already have it, I don't know if I'd want to spend money on basically a port of a game that's already a remake. Just seems kind of, and I just feel like it seems kind of silly in general to port a remake. It would be like porting, for example, it'd be like porting the Ratchet and Clank PS3 collection to PS4 or something like that. It just seems silly to me and pointless to me. But I know a lot of people want it, and that the big reason, I guess, is that the Wii U didn't sell well, and so a lot of people don't have Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. I love Twilight Princess too. Wind Waker, I'm not as high on as a lot of people. I feel like it's the most overrated game in the Zelda franchise. Still like it a lot. I love Zelda games. Like the worst Zelda games is still great, but it's lower on my list. Wind Waker is. Twilight Princess, I absolutely love. It's my third favorite Zelda game. It would be number 2 if it was harder. That's my only complaint, is that Twilight Princess is really, really easy for a 3D Zelda game. Even Wind Waker I find to be more of a challenge than Twilight Princess. But because, like I said, just because I already have those, I feel like it'd be silly. But I know because the Wii U didn't sell well, that's basically the reason people want them. But because I already have them personally, I just don't really see much of a reason that I'd rebuy them. It would take a lot for me to rebuy them. And because, yeah, the Switch is more powerful than the Wii U, but it's not like crazy more powerful too. Even if they tried to kind of improve them again rather than just being a straight up port, I don't really know how much of an improvement that would be and if it would justify the cost. And especially because knowing Nintendo, if they do any sort of collection or whatnot, they're probably going to be priced pretty high. Like a lot of people were upset on the fact that the Mario 3D All Stars was a lot of people said it was a lazy port, but just getting those games in HD, even if it wasn't like, redone from the ground up like a Crash Bandicoot, getting those games in 3D in themselves were big. And knowing Nintendo, I was pretty surprised that we actually got a collection of 3 Mario games for $60. Knowing Nintendo, I'm honestly surprised they didn't charge $60 a piece rather than what came out to basically $20 a piece for those. But yeah, so that's my that's my least. Then kind of going up from there, I would like to see perhaps some sort of collection of handheld Zelda games in 3D, in HD. The reason being that, like I said, I'm not big into handhelds typically, as I have a hard time playing on a small screen, and just being able to play, certain games like Phantom Hourglass, for example, on a full screen and whatnot would be great, as well as HD. And I haven't played a ton of like Seasons and Ages, so opportunity to play that on a console when I haven't played a ton of it would be pretty cool. And for games like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks 2, perhaps you could upgrade it to where you basically control it like a normal game, because on handheld they in handheld they you have to use the stylus, which was pretty annoying to control rather than using just like the normal type of controls. So that would be big, getting some of those games. And maybe, I don't know if it's practical, but back in the day there was going to be a third game with Seasons and Ages that ended up not happening. I don't know if there would be a way to kind of resurrect that, kind of like Nintendo did with Star Fox 2 on the Super NES Mini. So if you could do something like that and resurrect that and bring that back, that'd be cool. So that's kind of my second, is handheld Zelda games. I would be up for that being done. That would be pretty cool. Then I kind of go to what would be my second, which is I would like to see Skyward Sword HD. The reason being that I'm a little bit higher on Skyward Sword than a lot of people. And I don't understand the complaints like at all with the controls. I hate motion controls, like hate motion controls normally. I was never interested personally in motion controls, and that's one of the reasons I consider the Wii Nintendo's worst console personally, is that I hate motion controls, and I felt like it didn't have a lot of a library. And the Wii U, I actually feel like has better games than the Wii. I know that's unpopular, but in general, I feel like the Wii was, both the Wii and the Wii U, was the dark time for Nintendo, because you had consoles that were tailored more towards what I consider a gimmick and motion controls, and the power difference wasn't much. I know Nintendo is still underpowered with the Switch and whatnot, but and the Wii was the worst of that. Well, the Wii is basically power-wise, I'd say, a GameCube. Not much of a difference in terms of power compared to that. At least the Wii U is quite a bit more powerful than the Wii compared to the GameCube to the Wii. But yeah, Skyward Sword I'd like to see, because like I said, I didn't have trouble with controls. I like it better than a lot of people, and just getting an opportunity to play it again and play it in HD would be a big plus. That's a big thing with a lot of these games, is just getting the chance to play them in HD, because going from standard definition to HD is pretty darn big. And the thing with the Wii that I have or that I don't like is that the Wii eats batteries crazy and fast. And that's actually kind of the reason I don't like having to necessarily play Skyward Sword, is more not the controls in terms of how they work, but more just how quickly it eats the battery. And so just not having to deal with that would be really nice, as well as getting to play in HD. And I've only played and beat Skyward Sword once all the way through. I started a second playthrough a while back and didn't get super far before I just kind of got distracted by some other things. So I'd like to play Skyward Sword a second time and experience the game again, as I'm sure I've probably forgotten a lot of what happened, being I don't have the greatest memory in general, unfortunately, and the fact that it's been a while since I played it. I don't typically remember games too well if I've only beat it once, and especially if it's been, several years, which it has. I don't remember what year I beat that game, but it's been a while. Okay, so then I get to kind of my top list of what I'd like to see for either individual release like the others or a collection or whatever, which is I would love to see Ocarina of Time HD and Majora's Mask HD. Now, with Majora's Mask, I didn't have an N64 back in the day, so both Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time I have on the GameCube collection disc thing that I got when I think I got my second GameCube. I had two GameCubes that stopped reading discs. I'm on my third GameCube. I still play from time to time. Ocarina of Time, I actually never beat until 2018, I think. It took me a long time to beat Ocarina of Time. Game's crazy hard. Majora's Mask, go back to Majora's Mask though. I've played it, but I haven't gone super far. I know it only had 4 dungeons. I think I only got to dungeon 2. The thing I don't like about Majora's Mask is kind of the 3-day system, because it's just kind of annoying to like get partway through a dungeon, basically run out of time, and now you have to actually get back to the dungeon and try to remember kind of what you were doing, because it's a lot different if you're in a dungeon, you're stuck, and you can just get back to that spot right away and try to figure out what to do. But when you're in a situation where you got to actually get back to the dungeon, and then after it's been some time, try to remember, well, how do I get past this to get to this, to that, to this, or whatever in the dungeon. That's kind of frustrating. So I wasn't big on the 3-day system, but I feel like the game is still a solid game, and it's definitely like the darker Zelda game, and in every way, like the music, the just the overall atmosphere, everything. And since I haven't played it, or since I played it but haven't beat it, it would be cool to experience it in HD and get a chance to try to go through. And maybe you could change up the way the 3-day and the save cycle works or something. I'm not really sure, even though that's kind of what the game's known for. And then Ocarina of Time. I feel like there's not too much to say other than just that it's my second favorite Zelda game of all time, my number 2 favorite video game of all time, only behind Breath of the Wild. And like I said, I didn't actually beat Ocarina of Time until a few years back. Took me years and years playing it off and on again. I've spent probably I'm not even joking, I probably put 400 hours in Ocarina of Time to beat it. And that's not doing like side stuff. That's just how much I got stuck at times. It's a hard game. Now, some people might think that's crazy, but it is. I got stuck. I probably spent as much time in just the water dungeon as I spend on a lot of games to beat the whole game in Zelda. That's how hard it was. Just very easy to go in circles over and over and over again. Very frustrating dungeon. But Ocarina of Time, yeah, it's my number 2 favorite Zelda game of all time. And I know there's the 3DS remake, but again, I'm bigger into handhelds and the fact that it's never been remade. And that's the thing with, I know, like, like I mentioned, we did have the remake of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD, and I said it would be silly to port a game that's already been remade. And yeah, I know Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask have been remade, but the difference is they were remade on handheld and still in standard definition, where Twilight Princess and Wind Waker have had an HD version already. So again, to experience Ocarina of Time in HD for the first time, that would be awesome. And the fact that because it's an older game, it doesn't run the best. It's still an amazing game, but definitely a lot of frame rate drops are not smooth or whatever. And I'm not big into 60 frames per second or 30 or whatever. I honestly can't tell the difference. 30, 60, I don't care at all. Most overrated thing in gaming, I think. And it annoys me how much people talk about 60 frames per second. My thing is just how smooth is it overall. And most games, even when they have an issue, it's not because of frame rate. So that's kind of my rant about frame rate right there. But if you give us a consistent 30 frames per second on any game, I'm good. As long, that's the main thing with frame rate for me, is it consistent. If you're playing a game where the frame rate's going from like 30 to 20 and then like 20 to 25 and that kind of thing, then yeah, it's an issue. But if it's 30 consistently or 60 consistently, as long as it's consistent, I don't care. But yeah, that's the thing. Ocarina of Time, because it's an older game, a lot of times it would run at like 20 frames per second, 25 frames per second, something like that. So just getting HD as well as getting it to run consistent 30 frames per second like you expect now, and maybe they would do 60, I don't know. But just that consistency would be great. So that's just my overall thought on that. The fact that it's my second favorite Zelda game, getting to play in HD for the first time, and actually getting good frame rates, because it didn't have good frame rate back when it came out. And the GameCube collection, I don't know if there was any sort of upgrades done to it compared to the N64 version. I don't think it was. I think it was just a port, basically. But yeah, it didn't run smooth. So that would be the biggest thing. So yeah, it's just kind of overall thoughts in terms of what I'd like to see from least to most. Just to recap, least would be Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker HD. Above that would be the collection of or some sort of handheld Zelda games. Above that would be Skyward Sword HD, and then top would be Majora's Mask, and then Ocarina of Time HD. So that's kind of my thoughts. Just wanted to agree with me. What would you guys like to see for the 35-year anniversary? It doesn't have to be realistic, because I don't think it's realistic to say that we're going to get all of those. We could very well get, say, a collection of some of the 3D Zelda games or something, and then maybe down the line get another thing or something. But I don't think it's realistic to expect like every single Zelda game that's been made to get onto the Switch and remade. Like you could very well see some of the games perhaps just go on the eShop or whatever, where it's basically a port job. But to expect all 19, 20, however many Zelda games. I forget how many there are if you count handhelds and stuff. I think it's around 20. To get all those ported and remade or whatever, not practical, I think. But I think we could very well see something with like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, and something like that. But not really sure. But yeah, just one of your comments. Already went a little long on this, but yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Comment below as always, and I think I'm gonna do 1 or 2 more videos. Thank you.